Today's world number one topics is Volodymyr Zelensky is in Washington. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to travel to Washington for high stakes talks with US President Donald Trump, accompanied by top European leaders to press for a full ceasefire and oppose any territorial concessions. This will be our number one topic for discussions at International Affairs show from Satv. My name is Rashid Kanchan. I will be your host, and we have a very special and very distinguished panelist today. We have Colonel retired Abdul Haq. He is very outspoken personality on ceasefire, on conflict, war, disaster, and of course on international relations. Colonel Abdul Haq, welcome to my show. And we have another very special panelist today from Paris, France. She is Evita Svetlova. She is a Czech-born former fashion model and the founder of Global Biodiversity Protection, an NGO dedicated to conserving nature and promoting sustainable development. After an international modeling career in Paris, she turned the environmental advocacy leading projects in Africa and Europe and collaborating with institutions such as IUCN and the United Nations. Recently, she also authored the book Doe Dragons, Blending History, Family Heritage and Symbolic Storytelling. She is very special today from Paris. Evita Svetlova, welcome to SCTV's International Affairs show. Let me begin with you. What are you hearing? What are you learning from Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska? And today, Zelensky is going to meet with US President for doing the further meeting regarding the Russia-Ukraine war ending or ceasefire. What is your observation? What are you learning?
You're asking to me about
yes.
that?
Yes, Evita.
Okay. I stopped to really looking at this moment what happened in the world around the politics, because for me I think it's very deeper question in every country, and the issue it's very complex. So every one of themselves of those countries have a very important reason to act so I won't go in the deep opening of it, because it's not my position today to judge them and say where is the best decision to go.
All right.
For me, I think.
Go ahead.
For me,
go
I
ahead.
think.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Evita.
For me, I think it's very important that today people actually understand the role and the role of human race, that we have to survive somehow. So we have to better look more in space programs and to have opportunity to see another way of surviving than just doing a wars. And I think the most important is also to have somebody to love and to love each other, and then that's the way as humanity can survive. So I will maybe better talk about biodiversity and
yes, Evita.
Yes,
Evita, absolutely. When I'll be back to you, I will ask you some questions regarding the biodiversity, climate change issues, because Bangladesh is one of the most victim nation around the globe for the climate change issues. Let me welcome our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho in the studio. And you have heard that Zelensky is on the way to Washington, and you can remember what happened a couple of weeks ago with Donald Trump. Now Donald Trump is setting a meeting with Zelensky because he has committed something with his counterpart in Russia, Vladimir Putin. I have got a news that US envoy Steve Witkoff announced that Putin agreed in principle to allow the US and Europe to offer Ukraine NATO style, according to the Article 5 security guarantees. What are the other issues, gentlemen, you have in your desk for today's discussion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rashid Kanchan. Of course, I am glad to see Mr. Abdul Haq in our studio as well. And of course, we were joined with Miss Ivita Saidlova as well. I just want to point out that this week is quite so important for geopolitics. Why I say this is because, as we know, Volodymyr Zelensky is supposed to meet Donald Trump today in the Oval Office, and before doing so, most of the European leaders have joined with him and Ursula von der Leyen in a Zoom call. This is quite so important as they are understanding what kind of security guarantees have been discussed with Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. It was a 3-on-3 meeting that we've seen in Alaska, and Steve Witkoff as well as Marco Rubio are coming out on their national media as well, CNN and Fox News, and they are understanding what kind of guarantees they will get. But a point to be noted here, today we will understand what kind of meeting the second term with Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump, how this meeting is going to go, how the optics are going to look like. It's still a matter to be discussed what kind of security guarantees there will be, whether the United States will allow the Eastern Ukraine borders to be considered captured by Russia.
All right, it is an active situation, ladies and gentlemen. Many new stories are unfolding in Washington, in Kremlin, and also in Kiev. European leaders also heading to Washington to go for a true deal. Let me ask a very tough question to Colonel Abdul Haq. It is a tough question for you because you had the military background, you have the leadership capacity, you understand the geopolitical scenarios, geopolitical dimension, and also international affairs. My direct question to you: how do you assess the outcome of the Trump and Putin summit in Alaska? Was it progress toward peace or to win for Moscow? Because Western medias are claiming that it's a win and showdown of Putin, a KGB guy.
Thank you very much, my dear Rashid Kanchan, an excellent anchor.
Thank you, sir.
For the English show, and my dear co-guest,
Thank you.
co-speaker, and young lady from France. Very good question. I wonder whether Trump will behave the way he behaved before few months with Zelensky. Have you forgotten, Kanchan?
Yes, I can remember.
I haven't ever heard that one president abusing another president in an open daylight in front of media and all. Just, it was like that. The Trump was his lord and Zelensky was his servant, just like that. I wonder whether this thing is going to happen again. Besides that, that is the humor. Definitely very important question you have asked for. You see, Donald Trump, I am not sure what policy, what philosophy he follows in his dealing. I wonder. Every time he behaved in different way. Ukraine-Russian war, long before it was started. But I see the world power is playing with this. They could stop it beforehand. Till now, Ukraine was not taken in the group of NATO. They had demand of it. And this was the most important demand from the Ukraine. Without fulfilling that, they are producing, they are supplying everything, they are selling their commodities, selling their weaponaries, including America. In this scenario, Trump, how much he will look after the interest of Ukraine, I wonder. I'm not that very much optimistic that Trump will look after the
interest of the Ukraine
interest. I don't think so.
Very vital point you already said it, sir. I'll come back to you again. Let me again connect with Paris, France, where Ivita Saidlova is there. She is expert on biodiversity, climate change, these issues. My question will be to her regarding the global biodiversity protection. What inspired you to establish global biodiversity protection, and what do you see as its most urgent mission today in the face of accelerating climate change and biodiversity loss? Evita, as I said earlier, that Bangladesh is one of the most victim country around the globe for climate change. What is your take on this?
Well, I start why I actually create global biodiversity protection. Well, it's more about heritage and let's say it's from my background because my family actually it's a long story. They was agroforestry people. There was engineer of forest and water. They was forestry people. They write books about it. They study animals. They study trees. It was really their life from generations to generations. So I think it's something like inside my blood that I start to go on it. And I have been traveling in African countries because I was international model, so I've been in countries that normally I will never get in, and I see some condition, and I saw the people, and I saw the degradation of the environment. So I wanted to understand what's going on actually, because it's in some places if we don't go there, then I saw it, and then I saw Sahel desert, and people have really challenging to have some agriculture growing, which was very difficult there, and the condition was not easy. So it's created global also migration because the earth it's not very productive there. And nobody was doing anything about it because everybody was talking about Africa and other difficult countries that are recording a lot of money, but the money never arrived there. That's the thing. And I say that, well, that's something wrong going about that, because it's not about only climate change caused by human, but we have also solar cycles, which are probably
Evita, I
today.
personally appreciate you much because everybody is talking about war, trade, tariff, Ukraine, Russia, Trump, Putin. But if you cannot save the planet, what would be the fortune of the human? I'll be coming back to you with another question. Having collaborated with institutions like the IUCN and United Nations, challenges and opportunities do you see in bridging grassroots conversations efforts with global policy making? Do you think this should be in the United Nations first priority to bring on the table, to bring to the members of the United Nations, because world is in danger right now due to climate issues?
I think, my personally thinks, I have a lot of friends when I have my organization, which are scientists and also astrophysicists and astrobiologists. And I have been talking a lot with them about all those issues, and they'll teach me a lot and about the global situation, what's happening. And I think that what humanity is supposed to point today, it's really not ignoring at all astrophysics and all situation what happening in our solar system and around the sun, and how the earth is rotating and how the sun is rotating around the galaxies. Because there are the big important things which happen, and it's already happened. And of course, human is ignoring in it because we're doing the wars in Ukraine and all that, and take caring of some personal issue between some families which take caring of things they're supposed not to take care. Today we are we are on in one big boat, which is our Earth, and she's navigating somewhere. We don't know even where she's navigating. We
Yes.
just know there is some times we have, and the question is today really for human race, that the human race that we are today and she created, which is kind of miracle, because we have you see, dinosaurs, they don't survive because they don't have a space programs. But
Yes.
we are able to do it, and we have the intelligence to do it, and we can survive. So all what human race have to think about it is how to survive.
Yes, yes, Evita, what an
human race.
explanation, what a narratives you have given. If we cannot save the planet, if we cannot save the human race, what is next? Let me come back to studio. Please stay online, Ms. Evita Swedlova. Let me come back to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pant, who is taking preparations to face my next questions, because next question is a little bit tougher. Trump's envoy says Putin agreed to NATO-style security guarantees for Ukraine. How realistic is this promise? Because it means NATO will not show its interest or ambitions to go for NATO. Ukraine will never show it, and Ukraine has to sacrifice the land already occupied by Russian forces.
Now, as you were covering this part of the news, let me also add on, according to the CNN website, Trump tells Zelensky to give up Crimea and to never agree to joining NATO. Now, such a remark coming from Donald Trump is, of course, a result of his meeting with Vladimir Putin. And at this moment, Volodymyr Zelensky is to face such a remark. Not only him, and the entire Europe is to face such a remark, and of course this will create a tarnishing relationship with what I believe with the United States and European Union, and also with the European countries. In addition, right now it's a matter whether or not Volodymyr Zelensky wants to prolong this war, as well as if he does so, Russia sees no other alternative but to continue their aggression, as United States is continuously stating that to forget about Crimea, which has been annexed by Russian forces from a long time ago, and of course to never join NATO. Doing so, Russia may stop their aggression, and United States may offer what they were talking about, a security guarantee. At this moment, it's still too early to say what kind of remark we will hear from the Ukrainian counterpart. But of course, as I was saying earlier, this week is quite so important in world geopolitics, as it is targeting to stop this 3.5-year war that has been prolonged.
I clearly understand what is going to happen, but I want to go for to the expert. He's a colonel. He served to the Bangladesh military, one of the finest military in the world. My question is, what challenges will President Zelensky face as he heading to Washington with European leaders to resist territorial concessions? Because Putin clearly said to the American media that conditions must be met, and he has given them 4 conditions. Crimea cannot be reclaimed.
Right.
The acquired land has to be handed over to Russia, and all sanctions has to be withdrawn. Number 4, Ukraine will never show his interest or ambitions to join NATO.
You see, all the 4 points, as you have discussed, as you have said, all are going against the interest of Ukraine, Zelensky. And it is the very tough time for him, which one he will accept and which one is not. For a president of a country or the head of the state, I think this is the very challenging time for him. I don't know if I would be in his place, what I would do. And basing on the strength of America and Western power, Zelensky started war against Russia, a big power, superpower of the world. Is a tiny country, not having that much mighty power, military power, like Russia. It cannot be compared even. So with what emotion or might he started fighting against Russia? America was behind it. Then other European countries were behind him. But at the fake of the war, they have just shown their back to Zelensky. It is very, I think, dangerous time for the
So you want
Ukraine.
to say Zelensky started fighting with Russia by supporting from NATO and United States. Now he is alone in the battlefield.
Definitely, I feel so. Because this battle is such a crucial battle. Without might of the Western power, Zelensky cannot fight even one day. Whole country will be occupied. And putting this Ukraine in a dangerous situation, America has taken back their all commitment, I think. And as I said, that European Union and as well as the NATO power also has not shown any significant support to that. And for your kind of information, Trump has given a proposal to keep peacekeeping force in the disputed area.
He mentioned NATO force.
He proposed. And where American troops, then UK, United Kingdom's troops, then Turkey, they will dominate that area. What is the aim behind it? That stop the war and we'll deal it later on. What will be done, that I cannot tell you. That is the promise. The commitment is totally denied to the Ukrainian people and Ukrainian head of the state. And I feel that as a military man, such a bad time, bad environment is not expected in any war.
Right, in 2025, the 21st century, people are expecting more sustainable world, more sustainable business, more sustainable life span. At this situation, world is witnessing so many wars, so many dirty politics in the global stage. Ladies and gentlemen, time has come for a short break. We'll be back soon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Evita Swedlova from Paris. We have Colonel Abdul Haq at the studio and our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panto. As Evita Swedlova has some time limitations, I want to do a second question to her. That sustainable development, many argue there is often a tension between economic growth and environmental protection. How can we balance development with biodiversity conservation, particularly in developing countries like Bangladesh, African nations and other Latin American countries? Evita Swedlova, would you please express your take on that?
Well, economic and development is a very important issue because it's about corruption. And where corruption is happening, of course, biodiversity it's the victim of it because less of money, less of local livelihoods, and people suffering. So of course, the environment will suffer also. And then we have the supernations like United States and Europe and Japan and others. We are not many, and so the environment, of course, in these countries are kind of preserved. But when we're going outside, when the corruption is start to be very important, because of course it's suffering of lack of political issues and negotiation, and it's about diplomacy, and so the corruption of those countries is very important. And I guess today we, like humans and especially the supernation, shall not to think how to fix problem with the corrupt nation inside a country, but they're supposed to act and start to act outside the supernations to stop and to start to help the corruption becoming less and less and finding the solution. Yes. I saw that it's something about the G20, when their countries leaving, so maybe there can start to think about it and then to think about how. I understand wars are for men's side. I don't want to really go in it because it's very sensitive issue and too complex, and I'm not a military person, so I won't talk on their side.
All right.
They must understand that also that because it's a lot of corruption happening and a lot of poverty and suffering.
Your answer is very pretty clear. Yes, Evita, your intention and your notion is very clear to our viewers. Would you please just stay on the line? You said you are not a military person, but we have a military person in our studio, Colonel Abdul Haq. World is facing tough times, so I must put a tough questions in your table as you have a military background. With no ceasefire in place, what is the military reality on the ground in Ukraine right now? And I want to add on one more question. Do you see Trump's softer stance on Russia as a shift in US foreign policy or just tactical diplomacy with the world?
You see, a very tough question, obviously, at this moment, and to answer is very tough. Just I tell you one just latest, which is published today in the newspaper. Trump gives Putin peace letter from wife Melania. Do you understand the significance of it? That how much Trump will go forward to support Ukrainian demand? It's a question, big question. The ceasefire, I don't think that giving so much of accepting so many demands of Russia by Trump and accepting the ceasefire, this is a suicidal decision. This will be suicidal decision for Ukraine, I feel. Because 3.5-year wars has destroyed their many things, lost many things. Wealth, resources, then money, what not. at this moment, at this fag end of discussion, and without ceasefire, I think it will also be a very, the summit will be failure, I think, if they cannot implement ceasefire without any condition. The ceasefire must be without any condition, and condition must not be favorable to the big power, ignoring the Ukrainian interest. That is my first thing. And then your question, next question was what?
Do you see the Trump's softer stance on Putin, I mean on Russia, as a shift in US foreign policy direction or just tactical diplomacy?
I said at the beginning that what does indicate that Melania wrote letter to Putin. What does it indicate? Definitely he is softer to Russian policy.
Yes,
Russian policy.
And as I understand, he is playing to create a business line with Washington to Moscow.
Exactly.
I'll come to our international affairs commentator, but as Evita Saidlova has a time limitations, she will leave us soon. So I want to do the last question to Evita, and I want to give a huge thanks for your contribution to our show. My question is, looking ahead, what innovative strategies or movements give you hope for achieving a more sustainable and biodiverse world? Evita Saidlova, would you please explain?
I will come back to the question you just asked me before. I guess that to preserve biodiversity and to make sustainable world and going in the future in peace, it's to start to challenge corruption around the world. Because if we don't challenge the corruption, the wars will again lead, and economy will be unbalanced. A lot of migration will move from one side to another side, because there is part of the world where humanity can live kind of well, and in another part of world, and that's the biggest part of the world, the humanity is actually suffering and living in poverty, and the biodiversity is saying. But in that places, the biodiversity is very large, because you see that we have all these tropical forests, like in Indonesia, in Basan and Congo, Amazon. So the biodiversity is very large, and we are depending on it because it's actually the pulmons of the world, and without it, the planet will be very unbalanced. But
Yes.
we have to also know one thing. It's very important what I will say, that the planet will always survive without the humanity, but we will
All
not
right.
survive without the planet.
All right,
But
Evita
the planet
Saidlova.
doesn't need the humanity.
Yeah.
That's
Evita Saidlova, I really appreciate from the top management of our television for your contribution. I wish all the best for your new all books, Dow Dragons, Blending History, Family Heritage and Symbolic Storytelling. I really appreciate Evita for your contribution. We will see you soon again on the screen in a live show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Let us come back to the studio. The military active situation is going on, and Colonel Hawk already said that he doesn't see the negotiation development, sir. My question would be to you. Some analysts argue Putin gained more than Ukraine at this summit. Do you agree?
To some extent, I do agree that the takeaway from the Alaska summit, it was seen a win for Vladimir Putin, for Russia. Why I say so, even it was Vladimir Putin who took the mic. He began the first statement of when the both two leaders stood up. In his statement, in one point he had mentioned that if Donald Trump was the 46th president instead of Joe Biden, this war would have never started. That is an access coming from the leader of Russia, and it says volumes about Donald Trump's efforts in mediation over the last 8 or so months. In addition, Donald Trump had said that Chinese President Xi Jinping assured him that China would not invade Taiwan during his presidency. Now, this is also a very big remark coming from Donald Trump, and of course there are territorial disputes between China and Taiwan, historically speaking. But to my understanding, it is Vladimir Putin's win on this part. Steve Witkoff was saying that there are 5 regions in eastern Ukraine. He was referring to Crimea, Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk and Zaporizhia. These are the regions that on eastern Ukraine that Russia has invaded, and Russia is setting to make concessions on this territory, given that Ukraine do not ever join NATO and forget about Crimea. Of course, these are all strategic alignments for the days to come, and whether or not it's now a very big decision making time for Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky. His country has been going through this numerous bombing, drone strikes. We have been covering this Ukraine-Russia war from the last 3.5 years ago. I remember sitting with you here within enormous panel when the war initially broke out, and at this moment we are yet to see the magic of Donald Trump. I know I've been very critical of Donald Trump in the past and how he has taken the US leadership. However, we are slowly starting to understand that he's quite so unpredictable in his maneuvering of political stunt, and as he always enjoys the media clout that he garners.
Sir, we are very proud to have such an international commentator, international affairs commentator in our show. We really appreciate you, but when I'll come back to you, I'll ask you a question regarding the Trump tsunami, I mean tariff tsunami, trade war. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short break. Trump started his 2.0 with negotiating wars. He has done it successfully with India, Pakistan. He has attacked on Iran nuclear sites and stopped Iran to attack on Israel. So that was also successful. He has done other successful job. Armenia, Azerbaijan, 50 years of conflict. He has brought into table and done a settlement. But this job, Russia, Ukraine, is going to be tough for him because Ukraine started retaliating this war, Russia's aggression, with the support of NATO and United States. Now, Volodymyr Zelensky is alone in the battlefield. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump recently started another war which I call tariff war, tariff tsunami, tariff cyclone. I want to ask the question to Colonel Hawk. Could Trump's push for major tariffs and trade restrictions reshape US relationships with Europe, even with Asian country? Because we are also part of this tariff tsunami.
You see, Trump, if we say that only Trump is doing this thing, we'll do mistake, we'll go wrong. Behind Trump, there is a very strong intellectual group who is working behind him. With their advice, he is doing it. And the main aim of Trump is to reshaping the United States economy, trade, and all aspects of related to their development. Basing on that, this is another word from American side to the world. And which country is going to be more much affected for this? And somewhere it is said, that is, the New York Times has given a headline, Trump's tariff will crush India's exporters, threatening livelihood. From 25, suddenly it has increased to the double. It is 50%. And our journalist Alex Travelli said, a big part of India's economy is facing a nightmare scenario. Yeah. And basing on this tariff, the good thing is that country like Bangladesh will be benefited. Country like Bangladesh, Vietnam.
And Bangladesh has done a good negotiation.
Good negotiation. And because of, I must say, this is General, this is our Dr. Yunus, he has got tremendous contribution on it. And this tariff war, I don't know, I am not that much optimistic that it will be in favor of American interests the way they are thinking, because without world, without European Union, can they independently run the show? I don't think so. So the tariff system which has been done, suddenly giving a slap to all the countries in the world, even China. Without Chinese good, America cannot run in a single day. Whatever the dress and the attires Trump is putting on, you see at the back it is written made in China. So what not in Europe? Without Europe, America is, I think, 50% dead. The support of UK, support of France, support of all other countries, with all these, they are mighty power now. Without them, they cannot run the show in the world.
So you sometimes suspect that America might be alone one day.
Yes, definitely. The way they are running, see, as you have mentioned, the Iran-Israeli war. And suddenly Trump took the step. But why he took? He did not have that intention. He wanted to destroy or collapse Iran. The way Iran was moving, he did not expect that, because Iran is a very powerful country as far as spiritual aspect is concerned. And the time was Karbala time. You understand? The whole nation was together.
So Trump is using all his trump cards.
A trump card. And suddenly he stopped the war. And Israel took a back.
All right, sir. I think things are going to be very complicated around the globe. I want to make it clear from our international affairs commentator.
Is the best.
I already said that whenever I feel stuck, I feel blocked, I go to him. I want to come to you. How the Washington's political establishment reacting to Trump's approach towards Russia, Ukraine, and around the globe, I mean 70 countries for tariff imposing?
Initially, there was a high bar of tariffs on most of the nations as most of these 70 nations had scrambled their negotiating team, those who were planning on bringing down these tariffs, and some of these countries have done so very successfully. You look at Bangladesh and Pakistan, it is down to 19 or to 20%.
Vietnam did well.
Vietnam did well as well. And not only so, we are now seeing a strict imposing of tariff amongst the BRICS nation, and not only so, semiconductor tariffs are looming. The US announced plans to impose steep new tariffs on semiconductor imports, potentially reaching up to 300%. Of course, these semiconductors become quite so important in the technology advancements of AI and in those relevant fields. Not only so, the steel and aluminium tariff expansion has increased, adding 407 derivative steel and aluminium products. These effects are definitely going to take place from August 18th, meaning today. And of course, his entire tariff package is having a broader economic fallout. I'll give you some examples. We have Australia's BlueScope, which is an Australian steel maker, triggered a 90% drop in annual net profit and substantial write-down of its US operations. As an immediate effect of this tariff looming, and of course, not only so, we see fear of 50% looming has prompted a surge in Indian exports to the US, accelerating by 7-fold. Meanwhile, Indian banks are scrambling to provide exporters with financing support like flexible loan terms and navigating this uncertainty period in trade. Of course, this all are a reaction of the trade war or the trade package that Donald Trump has imposed on these 70 nations, and these 70 nations are trying their best to cooperate. I see this move as a way to get manufacturing stabled in the face of American needs. But big conglomerates like Walmart in America are now facing the problem of inflation. All of their goods in the warehouses, in the stores are now more expensive and more harder to purchase. Definitely has an effect on the American households. It will definitely have an effect on the minimum wage of America. That must also increase with the inflation that's looming.
Sir, we are running out of time, but I have a very small question to you. Answer would be very small because, Colonel Hawk was telling me during the break that most unpredictable person is Donald Trump. But we see in the history, Putin is also unpredictable. And there is one man, I say one man, but his name is Xi, he's Xi Jinping, he is also very unpredictable. Do you think Xi Jinping is taking all the advantages from the conflict with the West and Russia?
Well, I'll make my answer very short. Premier Xi Jinping is a man who is waiting, a man who is very patient, a man who is trying to understand where China fits in the entire global world order.
And thank you very much. I want to do the last question to our distinguished panelist, Colonel Abdul Haq. He is very vocal on his issues. My question would be, you have keen observation on the Bangladeshi politics as well. One interim government is running under the leadership of Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus. Political parties are demanding elections. But as per the commitment and the revolution in 2014, Professor Yunus also have some commitments with the citizen of this country that he will go for justice, he will go for reforms on the constitution and some corrections on the system of our governance. What do you think? Election is going to be held in time, or Professor Yunus will take time to do the corrections and reforms, or he will say, yes, we will go for election as political parties and the stakeholders are asking for elections?
Thank you, Kanchan. This very pertinent question at this moment in Bangladesh. You see, the commitment Dr. Yunus committed to fulfill those, he does not have the mechanism, or I say that the administration with which he is running, they are not capable of fulfilling all those demands. People demand, then the uprising or the revolution demanded so many so many things, good things for the country. And from beginning, Dr. Yunus did the mistake not keeping the very professional people with him as advisors. For running the 53 ministry, he has chosen only few very aged or not that much effective or active people or knowledgeable people to run the show. Thereby, with that people, he cannot do or he cannot fulfill the demand of the people. If he could set his administration with very effective people, active people from the beginning, I don't think the political parties would seek for election or ask for the election so hurriedly. Because of his failure in the administration, law and order, then in different aspects that taking care of the defaulters, offender, he could not do that in time or very forcefully or very actively. That is the failure of him, and thereby people demand and political party has started demanding the election. And I don't think Dr. Yunus can deviate from his promise, as he has discussed, he has declared from February, at the February beginning or in February.
Your answer is very loud and clear. I learned that once a soldier, always a soldier. Soldier walks like a soldier, soldier talks like a soldier. Today you have heard so many powerful words from Colonel Abdul Haq. I really appreciate you, sir, for your participation. I'm grateful to our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Panto and Evita Saidlova from Paris, France. I'm grateful to all of you, and finally grateful to my respected viewers for watching our show. We'll see you tomorrow.